Hi, my name is Steve Nelly. Welcome to 3ds Max 2013 Fundamentals. You and I are about to go on a whirlwind tour of one of the most popular and widely used 3D animation programs on the planet today. I'm referring to, of course, 3ds Max. Whether your interest is in creating video games, TV or movie special effects, architectural walkthroughs, or mechanical design visualizations, make no mistake about it, this little nitrous-burning 3D hot rod called Max can do it all. Designed not just for beginners, but also those of you with a little experience under your belt, 3ds Max 2013 Fundamentals will thoroughly explain and demonstrate techniques ranging from basic to advanced, providing you new users with everything you need to know to get up and running, while at the same time offering experienced users plenty of tips and techniques that can be immediately applied to improve your productivity and workflow. We'll kick things off with learning the lay of the land, introducing you to the interface, in other words, where you need to go and what you need to push to get this baby to work its magic. We'll be digging into a healthy handful of different modeling techniques that you can use to build objects of all shapes and sizes for your scenes. We'll show you how to dress things up, demonstrating how to build, apply, and properly position realistic custom-made skins that can be used both in and for a wide variety of applications. We'll shed some light on the matter, using both fundamental and advanced techniques to light a scene, controlling everything from a light's strength to its color and its shadow. And we'll get to moving things around, teaching you how to pump a little life into the worlds that you build, using a bag of different tricks to do so. Having what we learn culminate in an animated project that will do from start to scratch. We'll be talking about the process of taking colored pictures, both stills and animated movies. Heck, we might even throw a couple special effects into the mix, demonstrating how to set up particle systems that are affected by things like wind and gravity. So we've got a lot of very cool stuff to cover. A little something for everybody, irrespective of your experience level or personal interest. Let me tell you, if you're looking for fun, you've definitely come to the right place. It's going to be me and you for the next couple of hours, and together we're going to be taking your 3D work to the next level. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Let's crank this baby up and see what we can do.
The first thing that we're going to do inside of 3ds Max and 3ds Max Design is set up our interface so that we have consistency when we're using the two programs. Internally, they are exactly the same program, but they have minor differences in functionality. For instance, 3ds Max Design has lighting analysis tools integrated into the program, and some presets that are set up with different values. However, for these tutorials, we'll be setting up a single consistent interface. We will change the units so that we're all working with the same units. Now, units are important for any collaboration. Whether you're working within a company or you're working between two companies, using the same units and building to the same scale will eliminate confusion and possible scale problems when working with different models from different locations. A second very important reason to use consistent units is that objects need to be built to real-world scale. 3ds Max bases its lighting on real-world size, meaning that if an object is 4 inches by 4 inches and another object is 400 by 400 inches, they will not be illuminated the same way by a single light because of their relative scale to the real world. Another important aspect to creating a production within 3ds Max or 3ds Max Design is configuring project file locations. Many companies have very specific project configurations and use some very sophisticated project management software to maintain all their assets for all their 3D production files. Since we're not building a major production, we're doing something fairly simple. We're going to set up the default project location where we're going to retrieve and save all our working files for these lessons. We're also going to change the default user interface and some presets so that we're consistent in our interface throughout the lessons. In the process, we'll cover how to save your user interface and recover from customization mistakes.
Inasmuch as one doesn't have to be a good artist to be a successful 3D animator, there's no debate that having a foundation built on traditional art concepts and principles is certainly of value. If you're truly serious about the field of 3D animation, whether approaching it as a hobby or career, you really ought to consider the value of getting a little traditional art training under your belt. Even if you never excel at being able to draw, picking up a few techniques that'll help with your design and composition will pay big dividends as you strive to become a better 3D artist. Traditional art training teaches essential concepts and ideas that carry over to any art form, whether drawing by hand, taking pictures with a camera, or pounding something out on the computer. For example, formally trained artists realize the importance of a well-designed image having a center of interest. They understand that proper staging of a scene can make it much easier for their audience to quickly identify the most important elements within a shot. You never want a viewer to simply look where they want to look. No, you want them to be looking where you want them to look. And there's a trick to making that happen, like the proper use of color and light. Formal art training would also give you a better sense of the importance of balance within a scene. You want to make sure that you're laying things out so that no one part of the scene feels any heavier or weighed down than any other area. In addition to balance, you also want to make sure that your scenes aren't too symmetrical. In other words, it's important to mix things up as far as size and proportion. Doing so just makes things look a little more realistic and believable, as will adding a little overlap in your scene. An understanding of proper composition stresses the importance of never having all your objects lined up in a pretty row. It's the overlap that you build into a scene that goes a long ways in providing a little extra depth and three-dimensionality in your work. A little traditional art training would also work wonders to improve your color and shadow, two of the very most important elements in creating realistic work. Traditionally trained artists realize that certain color combinations work better together, for example, whereas other colors that are combined together sometimes clash to the point of making an audience feel uneasy or a little on edge. Think about that. Simply by the way that colors are blended or combined together can determine how an audience feels about your work. It's amazing how something as simple as a color or two can affect their perception and their emotional response. So that's a few things to consider when making the effort to building the best 3D scene possible, one that has interest and intrigue. And don't think it stops there with only a traditional art class or reading a book or two on art in general. You might also want to consider maybe some formal training in photography or film appreciation. There's a lot to know in using the proper camera angle and lens length as you strive to make the most out of the scenes you've created. As I'll be mentioning in our chapter on cameras, a camera, if used correctly, can be one of your primary assets in creating a certain mood or feel for a story. And one last thing I'd like to mention about studying up. I might have left it for last, but this may be the very most important advice I can give you. Whether you do it in a school classroom or on your own, don't watch, but study the way things move, the way objects react and interact with other things. What's the difference, for an example, between the way a beach ball bounces and the way a bowling ball bounces, or a balloon, or a water balloon? They're all round. You make each of them the same way on the computer using a sphere. But each reacts to coming into contact with something else quite differently, right? It's going to be your ability to accurately show that kind of stuff that's going to be your ticket to making a ton of money and retiring while you're still young. So study up. If you're truly serious about becoming the best 3D animator possible, having a rock-solid foundation in traditional art concepts and principles will only make you better.